The president is going to address the nation tomorrow night to discuss what he calls a national security crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border. The address will come ahead of the president's planned visit to the border that happens on Thursday. This is an attempt to draw attention to his request for billions of dollars to build that border wall.
The funding has been a major sticking point in negotiations to end the partial government shutdown. The president has asked for $5.7 billion to pay for it. Now he's also asking for an additional $800 million for urgent humanitarian needs at the border. A new round of budget talks over the weekend failed to result in any major progress. 17 days in, the shutdown already ranks as the second longest in more than 40 years.
Some 800,000 federal workers have been working without pay or furloughed since the shutdown started last month. CBS News Washington correspondent Paula Reid is at the White House now. Paula, you attended a briefing with the vice president and other administration officials. What did they have to say about where negotiations stand? I know they were negotiating even over the weekend, right?
That's exactly right, David. This was a briefing for a small group of reporters covering the White House here with Vice President Pence, Department of Homeland Security Chief Nielsen, and a few other White House officials. This was not on camera, but we are allowed to share what we learned. And during this briefing, Vice President Pence said that the president has not yet made a decision about whether or not he wants to use his emergency powers to try to obtain funding for this border wall. Now, Democrats have said if the president even attempts to declare a national emergency to try to divert military funding in an effort to start building this wall, this will be met with immediate legal challenges. But Vice President Pence also told us that the Office of White House Counsel is currently reviewing all of the president's options, including this possible use of his emergency powers.
Paula, the administration has claimed that terror suspects have crossed the border. The State Department said last year that it had no indication that was happening. Is the White House standing by that claim?
This was such an interesting part of this briefing because the White House, the Department of Homeland Security, they have put out claims that are just false, including the White House's repeated claim that 4,000 terrorists have come through the southern border. That is just not true. So we asked repeatedly Secretary Nielsen about this, and instead she doubled down on her claim that there are, quote, special interest aliens who have come through this way, but she would not answer how many of those people had any connection to terrorism. They also tried to sort of pin her down on the fact that her own administration, the State Department, as you just noted, has said, look, no known terrorists have come through the U.S.-Mexico border. But again, she deflected, she diverted. So far, we have no clarity or correction from the Trump administration on these misleading claims about terrorists coming across the U.S.-Mexico border.
Paula, this is the same woman, the secretary, who said the administration had no policy for separating families at the border, and we know that was not true. So what more do we know about the president's decision to address the nation tomorrow night? He's supposed to do it from the Oval Office, right?
Exactly. It appears the White House is in full damage control mode. They are trying to, on almost a daily basis, take their message to the American people. On Thursday of last week, Wednesday, Friday, we saw almost every single day last week, the president sought out cameras to defend this shutdown to the American people, to make his case. We saw him a few times over the weekend. We'll see him tomorrow in a primetime address from the Oval Office. This is his first time giving a primetime address from that office. Of course, we've seen presidents on very significant occasions give addresses from that office. Then we'll see him visit the southern border on Thursday. So it appears they are trying to sort of take control of the message here. They want that message to be that it's Democrats that aren't negotiating. But the one thing that is abundantly clear here is that the only thing these two sides, Democrats and the White House and most Republicans, agree on is that they do not agree on funding for this border wall.
Paula, we did hear the president at the end of last week say that landlords should be lenient for people that may have, facing some tight financial constraints as this shutdown continues. Is the White House concerned at all about the prospects of federal workers missing paychecks this Friday?
Well, they have expressed compassion. In his Rose Garden press conference last week, the president said that many of these people would prefer to have border security. But as you know, you cannot pay for baby food or rent with border security. But one of the other big headlines out of this briefing is that tax refunds will go out. There was some concern that because of the shutdown that tax refunds would not be going out, but we were assured that guidance will be coming from the Treasury Department, and anyone who is due a refund will receive that. So that does appear to be sort of a concession to the American people and anyone who could be economically impacted by this shutdown.
Paula Reid, thank you very much.